This week, after the session wrapped up, North Country Assemblyman Billy Jones stopped by the studio, and we asked him how he voted on the bill.
Very personal issue to myself, a very personal issue to a lot of people. I've mentioned to other people the debate on the floor of the Assembly was probably one of the most interesting and fascinating debates that I have ever been a part of. It crosses party lines. It's a matter of people that have been put in that situation. I've heard personal stories from friends put in that unfortunate situation, and at the end of the day, it's a choice, and I think it's very narrow in scope where I felt comfortable with it.
The bill's been around a long time, more than a decade. This is the first year, though, it actually made it to both the floor of the Assembly and the floor of the Senate?
Yes, it is.
You think the time had come to pass it?
Well, that of course is a choice on people, many people that have been advocating for it. And, we have done a lot of research on it. Like I had said, it was a personal decision, myself included, and with a lot of people that were advocating for it. Heard their stories, heard from friends of mine. Obviously, it's an issue where it touches people in different ways, and the time had come. Yes.
Do you know if the governor plans to sign it? Has she shared with you and your fellow Democrats any indication?
No indication on that.
What about the prison reform bill? Several bills put together into a package. Did you support that?
I did not, because going through what we have just been through with the work stoppage, with the issues that we're having, I certainly, know that, we've had issues in our correctional facilities, but we had an opportunity to overall reform correctional facility safety. We did nothing to deal with the HALT Act. We did nothing to deal with, updating our disciplinary measures within our facilities, and we did not do that. Also, in this omnibus prison reform bill, a lot of these practices are already in policy. The State Department of Corrections has put these in policy as far as with cameras and oversight and such. So we had an opportunity to make it safe in our prisons for incarcerated uniformed staff, ununiformed staff, our civilians, our correction officers, our incarcerated. Let's make it a comprehensive approach and make sure it's safe for everyone within those facilities.
Did you support some of the bills? Body cameras?
Like I say,
cameras?
those were already, we had, I think, maybe 7 out of those bills that were already, DOC's policy that is being implemented right now as we speak. So, like I said, I thought it was an opportunity to do something more to make sure our facilities were safe for everyone, and we didn't do it.
Didn't touch on corrections officers' safety, staffing, and any of the big issues that came out of the story?
I do not believe so.
Disappointing?
I'm disappointed. Obviously, that I was a former correction officer, and like I said, we just missed the opportunity to make corrections a safer place for everyone within those facilities.
You and Assemblyman Simpson, Senator Steck have all been pushing to repeal the HALT Act, which significantly limits the use of solitary confinement. That's not addressed at all in this omnibus bill?
No. One of the reasons I voted against it.
That clearly one of the issues, one of the reasons why thousands of corrections officers walked off the job. The State and Department of Corrections implemented some temporary changes to the HALT Act, but anything beyond that?
Nothing beyond that, and like I said, we had a chance to do more with that, and I felt it was an opportunity, a missed opportunity.
And the governor fired more than 2,000 corrections officers who had walked out. Now the governor looking to close 3 state prisons. Before the strike, her budget didn't include any prison closures.
Nope.
But now 3.
Yes, put it in. The governor put it in her 30-day amendments during the correction officers' work stoppage.
Retaliation?
You'd have to ask her.
Did that make you angry, though, that they turned around and added 3 prisons?
Yes, you've seen many of my statements there. I voted no on that piece in the budget, and absolutely, I don't think the premise of the work stoppage, I will say, was to make prisons less safe, and I think by continuing down this road, we are making them less safe. And we had an opportunity there. It was right in front of our eyes for the whole state to see, where we could have, acted upon that to make sure that those correctional facilities are safe for the correction officers, the civilians, and the incarcerated alike.
No prisons identified yet, but she has a full year?
She has a full year to decide, but once she decides, the facilities have 90 days to close down.
One other bill that came up late in the session would have limited the number of cows on farms in New York. No more than 700. I guess concerns over manure runoff and methane gas as being environmental hazards. Most farms don't have that many cows, but a few of the bigger operations do. You joined your colleagues here in the North Country in speaking out against that.
Absolutely, and it was overhaul. It's 700 head on a farm. You know that a lot of these operations, it's not like when I was a kid, we had a 60 milking cow farm, but 60 often meant 120 on head on the farm. I thought it was misguided, misinformed, and thank God the legislation did not move out of committee to move anywhere. A lot of these smaller farms in our area have been forced to go out of business, have been forced to sell in the past 10, 20, 30 years since I was a kid. And you see it all around you. You see, the bigger people having to get bigger to make the operation, successful. And these are still family-owned, family-run dairy farms that we have. And like I said, I thought the legislation was just misguided, misinformed.
Many of these bigger farms taking steps with digesters and other equipment, handling manure runoff.
And I know in the past several years, and I've even allocated money to local organizations to help with the farming operations, with the farmers, to make sure that that doesn't happen. A lot of these are good programs that are environmentally sound. There's no better environmentalist than a farmer in my book. So they want to do what's best for their own land and for the land surrounding them. So like I said, I just thought the legislation was misguided. I was just talking to representatives from Chobani. They were down in Albany shortly after this bill was introduced. And they were saying, hey, we need more good quality New York State milk right here. There's a need for it. So, let's realize where our food comes from.
Chobani, of course, announcing $1 billion new processing plant in Rome, New York on the former Griffiths Air Force Base. A number of other processors also starting up operations, saying they're going to need millions of gallons of milk every day from farmers in central New York and the North Country. So as you mentioned, yeah, all of that coming.
Absolutely.
Right, as many of them are looking to ramp up and buy more milk from farms here in the state.
You've seen the bumper sticker, right? No farms, no food. That's all I have to say.
When we chatted with you in the days before the session got underway in January, you said the top priority for you this year was affordability. That was the message from voters last fall, you said. The budget that passed in May did include tax rebates of a few $100s that will be coming, an expanded child tax credit, free school lunch and breakfast that could save families hundreds, if not a few $1,000s. Overall, though, does the record $254 billion budget make life more affordable for New Yorkers?
I think it's a step, but I think we started out, obviously with the voters' concern, we started out a little behind the curve, right? I think that we should have been addressing this, prior to this year's budget. I think it's a start. I certainly don't think it's the finish line that we need to be at.